Hey guys, I've got another video update for you. This is a USCIS update. I want to share with you that USCIS has issued a policy alert on October 17th in the area of family-based immigration, specifically spousal petitions, aka the marriage-based petition. And so in this video, let's talk about this policy alert and let's share some things that you have got to be concerned about when you look at this alert in the full grand scheme of things with all that's happening. Hey guys, Andre McKinney Dorval here, licensed immigration attorney located in the state of Florida. Guys, in this policy alert, which I have put on screen, we're going to focus on specifically paragraph 2, where it reads, USCIS must ensure that marriages are between two people who are legally willing and able to marry, and that marriages are legally valid, bona fide, and consistent with the laws and public policy of the United States. USCIS will review the marriage bona fides of each spousal relationship at the time the immigrant visa petition is adjudicated, that's the I-130, and at the time the adjustment of status application is adjudicated, and that's the I-485. This guidance will enhance USCIS's capabilities to identify marriage fraud and the initial stages of the immigration process. This guidance is effective immediately and applies to petitions pending or filed on or after the publication date. So, a couple of things before we dive into things that I want you to be aware of. Now, in a prior video, we talked about how at USCIS, that is becoming based on policy that went into effect October 6th, an enforcement site, because this administration has authorized for enforcement agents to be at these USCIS offices, and they will have the power of arrest, not just the issuance of notice to appears. So you want to be aware of that. Another thing to remember, we did a prior video, October 28th effective, electronic payments for all immigration filings. Just a quick reminder on that. So with this new policy alert that's been issued on October 17th, as we just read and on screen, they are focused heavily on marriage-based fraud, and they're looking at the initial stages. And so what this means is that your evidence is going to be heavily scrutinized. Now, we've talked about in prior videos, you want to make sure that you submit a strong packet. Let me take a pause right here. If you are someone who's already submitted your application or your packet, you want to make sure that you review what you've already sent. You certainly want to make sure you have a copy of your paperwork submitted and your documentary evidence. You want to risk assess, and you want to make sure that there's consistencies across the board or valid explanations if something is off. Work with a licensed attorney. Now, for those who will be submitting their marriage-based petitions, I-130 and I-485 and other documentation, again, you want to make sure that your evidence packet is strong and detailed in evidence, because in all likelihood, you will be called for an interview. Now, here are some things that I want you to consider with this increased scrutiny and tougher and higher vetting at the initial stages. And so what USCIS is going to be doing that you can surely expect is a deeper document vetting dive. We also talked about in a prior video where they are using enhanced artificial intelligence to help them in their fraud detection. Check out that video as well. So you should expect that USCIS officers are going to conduct a more thorough documentation review, cross-referencing and cross-checking information against prior immigration filings and sharing data with other federal agencies to verify an applicant's history. We've talked about also how they've entered into agreements with the IRS and other federal agencies to gather more intel information or biographic information. Be aware of that. The second thing you have to understand, this is an enhanced fraud focus with this policy alert. The USCIS agency is renewing and revitalizing its emphasis on preventing marriage fraud. So that means you can expect that these new officers or officers already existing are going to be heavily scrutinizing filing packets for certain things that appear to be red flags. Examples could be large age gap differences, language differences if the spouses don't communicate in a common language that they can understand. And so you want to be aware of that. Another one is lack of financial commingling or integration of accounts. That includes if you rent, if you buy property, but you did not add your spouse if this property was acquired during the course of the marriage, mail that doesn't come to the common place that you say you live. And of course, we'll throw in there as well, which we've talked about, your social media. And so certain red flags for sure are going to raise the alarm in the interview. So you want to be sure that you are fully prepared. Another thing that you should consider, if you are someone who has had a prior I-130 petition filed on your behalf, and if that prior I-130 was denied or abandoned, you want to make sure that you risk assess with this being in your background. And so it goes without saying, the number one key takeaway that I want you to be aware of, you have got to risk assess and you have got to be prepared because they are going to heavily vet your documents and definitely they will be cross-referencing prior immigration filings. Guys, I do thank you for watching. This was a USCIS update that I wanted to share with you guys. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I will definitely see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.